This week's episode was brought to you by M.E. Tumultly, Iris Mitchell, Kelsey B., and Heather Martinez. Thank you, M.E. Tumultly, Iris Mitchell, Kelsey B., and Heather Martinez. It's with the generous support of listeners just like you that helps keep our polyphase reverse induction rotoscopic vacuum optic fiber powered astral light generation nodes charged with enough psychic thermal fluids to keep the computer demons in the fourth dimension hypnotized into writing the contents of these episodes. If you'd like to help us confuse the computer demons or just hear the second half of this show, please visit www.patreon.com/thewholerabbit, where your monthly donation of as little as $5 will not only get you the extended edition of this episode, but our entire library of extended episodes on topics guaranteed to inspire your quest to expand your knowledge into places others don't even know exist. Patreon makes it easy to link your Spotify account, so you could browse the members-only episodes right from within the Spotify app, the best place to see all our content. But that's not all. I'll send you a 5x5 high-quality vinyl sticker of our Big Bunny Baphomet cover art, and you'll also get immediate access to our Discord server, where you can romp and play with the administrative staff who are highly trained Shiba Inu. In this episode, we discuss the early life and times of the real-life electric wizard who helped invent the modern world, Nikola Tesla. In the free section of the show, we discuss Tesla's whimsical childhood, his enchanted discovery of electricity, and the forces of fate and circumstance, which molded the young boy into a fledgling wizard. Most importantly, we focus on the details of his life, which strangely overlap with what elsewhere would pass for initiation into and gradual attainment of occult power in the mystery traditions. In the extended version of the show, we discuss Tesla's unique psychology, his brush with gambling and excess in college, his creative process, numerous brushes with death, and how he pioneered the use of alternating current, slaying the commutator dragon. Thank you, and enjoy the show. What is a light bulb's favorite kind of news?
What?
Current events.
Yeah.
Why did the lights go out?
What?
Because you didn't pay the power bill.
Because they liked each other.
Oh, gosh.
I caught my friend harassing some electricity. I told him it was an abuse of power.
What do you call someone that steals electricity?
What?
A jewel thief.
Oh, nice. I like that one.
I just opened my water bill and my electricity bill at the same time. I was shocked.
Electricity jokes revolt me.
Hello everybody, and welcome to The Whole Rabbit, where we don't just study death rays and laser force fields to stage a hostile takeover of the Japanese federal government in the wake of Armageddon fast approaching. Nay, we turn the quantum clocks back to the magical mid-19th century and gaze with 2020 historical hindsight into the life and times of the eccentric who reinvented lightning and harnessed its mighty force to build the modern world, because this week we're discussing the heroic life and times of the Serbian wizard, Nikola Tesla. I'm your host, Hack Rabbit, legally known as Luke Madrid. I'm joined this week by the Madame Maestro of Metaphysics, Mari-sama.
Marvelous to be here.
The melodic meme manager, Malachor5.
Salutations.
And the heavenly hawk-eyed heartthrob, Heka Astra.
Hello.
Before we get too far, it might be prudent to ask, what is a wizard? In the Lord of the Rings universe of J.R.R. Tolkien, wizards are considered lesser deities, or Ishtar, immortals that existed at least in some form prior to creation, and were capable of incarnating as humans to assist and bolster the mortal inhabitants of Middle-earth. In Star Wars, wizards, or Jedi, are multidisciplinary clerics who have attained their powers through intense training from childhood. In Dungeons & Dragons, they are brilliant students, voracious readers, and tireless tinkerers who must prepare their magic ahead of time. With just a pinch of creative license, Nikola Tesla fits the bill perfectly. In terms of the Ishtar, or Maiar, of Middle-earth, Christopher Nolan chose the late David Bowie to portray Tesla in his blockbuster The Prestige because, like Bowie's Promethean Starman, he wanted the audience to intuitively sense the character's otherworldly, even immortal nature. To the death cult Om Shinrikyo, aspiring wizards and would-be world redeemers themselves, Tesla represented everything they pretended to be, lusting after his inventive powers ceaselessly. When we look at the details of Tesla's life, we will see the training began early in childhood, which tempered his sensitivity to and expression of power power over occult forces we scarcely understand today. For all these things Tesla may have been, he most certainly was a real-life wizard. One so prolific, in fact, he likely inspired our idea of what it means to be one. And as with all good wizard tales, our story begins a long, long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Nikola Tesla was born at midnight during a lightning storm on the 10th of July, 1856, in a small Croatian town of Smiljan in Lika, then part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Fearing the storm was a bad omen, the midwife present declared the baby Nikola was a child of the storm. But his mother Juka corrected her, saying prophetically,
No, of light.
in fact, young Nikola coming forth during a lightning storm would become an important piece of Tesla family lore, which, upon telling, Juka was quick to relate it to God's holy fire and the importance of lighting candles to overcome darkness, a poetic synchronicity for a person who would grow to revolutionize the world's use of electricity and dazzle audiences with improvements to the newly invented light bulb. Yet, Juka, the mother of such a would-be wizard, possessed more than the gift of prophecy. In fact, Tesla would later attribute his own industriousness to the skills and discipline he observed in his mother. Juka spun threads, created intricate designs, and fabricated most of the family's clothing and home furnishings, all with a thoughtful, aesthetic flair. Known for creating her own labor-saving devices, Juka even once invented her own mechanical egg beater.
Cool.
I've watched cooking shows. Most modern people can't use mechanical egg beaters, let alone invent one.
I have a mechanical egg beater, but you're right, like no one uses them anymore.
Well, if you want to win a cooking show, you have to use them. That's the thing. You can't just be sitting there beating eggs. Putting wisdom and ingenuity aside, Juka was also an insanely hard worker, with Nikola remarking she was
indefatigable and worked regularly from 4 o'clock in the morning till 11 in the evening. From 4 to breakfast time, 6 a.m., while others slumbered, I never closed my eyes but watched my mother with intense pleasure as she attended quickly, sometimes running, to her many self-imposed duties. She directed the servants to take care of all domestic animals, milked the cows, performed all sorts of labor unassisted, set the table, prepared breakfast for the whole household, and only when it was ready to be served did the rest of the family get up. After breakfast, everybody followed my mother's inspiring example, but I was the happiest of them.
Even into her 60s, Nikola would remark on his mother's dexterity, saying,
Her fingers were still nimble enough to tie 3 knots in an eyelash.
Juka was also, despite technically being illiterate, exceedingly intelligent and was known to recite long passages from the Bible or epic Serbian poems from memory. Speaking to her ingenuity,
He said, My mother descended from one of the oldest families in the country and a line of inventors. Both her father and grandfather originated numerous implements for household, agricultural, and other uses. She was a truly great woman of rare skill, courage, and fortitude, who had braved the storms of life and passed through many a trying experiences.
Nikola would later argue in his autobiography that she would
have achieved great things had she not been so remote from modern life and its multifold opportunities.
This isolation from modern life was due in no small part to the Tesla family owing their income to the clergy. In fact, the couple's marriage was arranged by the Greek Orthodox Church in a small township of Senj in 1847, where Nikola's father was a fledgling priest.
Based.
Apparently, in Greek Orthodox, the dominant religion of the Serbian minority, you can become a full-fledged priest as long as you get married first. This stands in contrast to Roman Catholicism, which was dominant in the area among the majority Croats. Nikolai's father, Milutin, was born to Grandpa Tesla, who, strangely just like Juka's father, was actually named Nikola and served as a military officer for the French during the Napoleonic Wars, and had risen to the rank of sergeant before marrying Tesla's grandmother, Anna Kalinek, the daughter of a respected colonel. After the war, in the wake of Napoleon's defeat, Grandpa Nikola would settle down in Lika, which was quickly assimilated into the Austro-Hungarian Empire, where he fathered 2 sons, Milutin, his brother Josef, and 3 daughters, Stanka, Janja, and one whose name is lost to history. It was probably Wanky or Fupa, based on the other 2 names.
I was gonna say, they should have lost Stanka's name.
Oh, there's my Aunt Stanka. To follow in staunch family tradition, Milutin was sent along with his brother Josef to the Austrian Military Officers Training Academy. Well, Josef thrived, becoming a mathematics professor, and even writing his own textbooks to aid in his classes. Milutin would resign from the military and take up training at a Greek Orthodox seminary in Plasky after he was reprimanded for not sufficiently polishing the brass buttons on his coat. After all, what is a Serbian officer without shiny buttons?
You buff that brasso.
They really are a very fancy people after all. This turned out to be a good move for Milutin, as he graduated at the top of his class in 1845, his son later remarking that his father was a very erudite man, a veritable natural philosopher, poet, and writer. Elaborating further, Nikola remarked that his father had a prodigious memory and frequently recited at length from works in several languages. He even was a regular mainstay of the editorial section of the local newspaper, which according to Tesla was much admired and replete with sentences full of wit and satire. He even had a home library full of books on not just religion, but science and mathematics in various different languages. Father Milutin was described as different looking from Nikola, sporting a receding hairline, shiny forehead, high cheekbones, and a full beard. As one might imagine of Tesla's father, he too was a bit eccentric and
had the odd habit of talking to himself, which would often carry on an animated conversation and indulge in heated arguments with himself, changing the tone of his voice. The casual listener might have sworn that several people were in the room.
You know, for some reason, Milutin sounds like the real-life Deckard Cain. He's got all the scrolls of Identify.
Stay a while and listen.
None of the tomes I have read foretold of heroes coming to a faraway land.
Despite having such a sharp mind and a long memory, Milutin was happy to offer these gifts in service to God, using them to take up certain political causes, including compulsory education for children, schools where Serbs could learn Serbian instead of just Croatian, and social equity among ethnic groups. So he was both based and woke.
Wow.
Likewise, when we consider the eccentric genius Nikola Tesla would become known for, it's clear to see these qualities were strongly present in both parents. This genius, combined with strict discipline and high standards from his family's military and priestly background, likely meant Tesla probably stood little chance of becoming anything short of remarkable. But his inclination towards wizardhood would become even more apparent during his childhood in the Croatian Shire. Despite his later importance to the world, Tesla was just one of 5 children, the youngest of 2 boys, and constantly lived in the shadow of his elder brother, Dane, who is considered gifted to an extraordinary degree. Dane was undoubtedly the favorite child, and was expected to follow Milutin into the priesthood, a burden that would someday fall to Nikola. Even still, Nikola described his childhood as blissful, spending a great deal of time with his 2 older sisters, playing with family pets, and riding atop his father's Arabian horse, which was given to him by a Turkish military officer for his tolerance in assisting some local Muslims at the time. The horse was intended to aid the family in their long-awaited reassignment to Smiljan, a place whose name means smelling of sweet basil, and allowed Milutin to quickly make house calls to his parishioners, about 80 in number. Of the horse itself, Tesla recounts,
"It was a magnificent animal of Arabian breed, possessed of almost human intelligence, and was cared for and petted by the whole family, having on one occasion saved my father's life under remarkable circumstances. My father had been called one winter night to perform an urgent duty, and while crossing the mountains, infested by wolves, the horse became frightened and ran away, throwing him violently to the ground. It arrived home bleeding and exhausted, but after the alarm was sounded, immediately dashed off again, returning to the spot, and before the searching party were far on the way, they were met by my father, who had recovered consciousness and remounted, not realizing that he had been laying in the snow for several hours." Holy crap.
yeah, you're like riding on your horse to go give a circumcision or something, and then like you get thrown, fall face down in the snow. You don't realize you're out for a few hours. You like wake up and your horse is still there, and you get on the horse, ride home, and they're all like, "Where you been, Milutin?" He's like, I don't know.
I got attacked by a bunch of furries.
Possibly, but yo, this sounds like a Disney movie straight up. Like the horse is like, "Oh man, I got scared and ran away from my horsely duties. I need to go back and prove myself."
It was probably like the pig in there be like, "Oh, Mr. Horse, you can't leave the farmer man alone. He's gonna die out there."
I mean, it was a pretty smart move. I'm sure the horse running away was more attractive to the wolves, so they left the guy alone. And then they couldn't keep up with the horse because it was scared now. They didn't do a sneak attack.
And it let people know something was up, so they went out looking.
And it went to go get him when the alarm sounded. That's a really smart horse.
He's like Lassie the horse.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just also loved by the whole family.
I want to be petted by the whole family.
Aren't Arabians like some of the fastest horses?
Yeah, and they're the smartest.
Definitely one of the most sought after.
They're so expensive.
I would say they're the Ferrari of horses, but aren't Ferraris horses? I don't know. I don't. While the adults toiled bitterly to make the best of the craggy, rock-laden soil, a neighbor once remarked, "When God distributed the rocks over the earth, he carried them in a sack, and when he was over Flowerland, the sack broke. Meanwhile, Nikola's primary nemesis came in the form of the farm's goose, which, according to his accounts, was a monstrous, ugly brute with a neck of an ostrich, mouth of a crocodile, and a pair of cunning eyes radiating intelligence and understanding like a human.
That's f***ing hilarious.
Well, they're frightening.
That goose.
Once, as an infant, this, quote, powerful enemy once seized Nikola and, quote, almost pulled out the remnant of my umbilical cord.
I'm sorry, but like, birds are scary as shit.
Yeah, geese are pretty f***ing terrifying.
Geese and chickens specifically are very scary.
You can find these memes of like, you know, what people think Canadians are scared of, and you'll see like a bear, and then it's like what Canadians are really scared of, and it's a Canadian goose. It's true.
A few years later, this same gander attacked Tesla in the poultry yard, grabbing me by the seat of my trousers and shaking me viciously. When I finally managed to free myself and run away, he would flap his wings in glee and raise an unholy chatter in which all the geese joined.
Picking on him.
On the flip side, animals also accounted for Tesla's fondest memories of childhood, especially as he put it, our magnificent macaque, the finest of all cats in the world. As Nikolai put it,
Wherever I went, macaque followed primarily owing to our mutual love, and then again moved by the desire to protect me. He fascinated me so completely that I too bit and clawed and purred. On rainy days, we went into the house and, selecting a nice, cozy place, abandoned ourselves to each other in affectionate embracement.
Ooh, woo.
In Tesla's eyes, we simply lived one for the other. Hell yeah.
Secret furry Tesla.
You know, my cat, like Ziggy, he does like these forceful, like headbutts your face. He's super cuddly, and it's just like, man, if you don't have any other friends or anything, the amount of love that you can get from animals and give to animals is amazing. They're like little furry children.
it can be speculated that both Nikola's animal companionship and later extremes of introspection owed largely to the isolation of Smiljan, which became total during the snowy winter season when the family's closest neighbors were miles away. Naturally, this isolation lent itself to an unfettered atmosphere of direct observation, a quality keen of Tesla who, once gazing at a snowball picking up size as it rolled down a hill, gave rise to the concept of magnification of feeble actions, prompting Tesla to later consider using the Earth's resonance to amplify the effect of electrical thrust. The ordered sequence of lightning followed by thunder and then torrential rain meant to the young Tesla that nature itself was beholden to a process, one that could be discerned by the rational mind. The young Nikola noticed that when warm winds from the Adriatic appeared in springtime, it meant the snow would melt rapidly, and we would then witness the terrifying spectacle of a mighty, seething river carrying wreckage and tearing down everything movable in its way. Yet, despite the fervent religiosity of his household, these astute observations of the natural world were not at odds with his father's piousness. In fact, Milutin preached that the material universe possessed underlying laws, which he referred to as logos, and that the efforts of humans to discover these ideals were seen as a way to praise God. All told, this belief likely influenced Tesla's fervent enthusiasm for discovery and helped inspire his intense proclivity to idealize the principles of nature and work towards manifesting their highest expression within his inventions, a process he underwent with religious, excitatory zeal for the entirety of his life. Milutin's attachment to religion, however, would quickly become an obstacle when his own ideals were brutally upended when tragedy struck during Nikola's 7th year. While the details are murky, the favorite, Dane, was riding atop Milutin's prized Arabian when the mighty horse bucked and threw the 12-year-old boy to the earth with such force he would succumb and die of his injuries later that night. Nikola is said to have seen the entire event but only spoke of it briefly, offering little to no detail. While some sources claim that Nikola spooked the horse, or even more scandalous, pushed him down a flight of stairs, good God, these are likely sensational embellishments with no evidence to back them up. Of what little details Nikola offers about the event, he remembers, "It was a dismal night with rain falling in torrents, and that my mother came to my room, took me in her arms and whispered almost inaudibly, 'Come and kiss Dane.' I pressed my mouth against the ice-cold lips of my brother, knowing only that something dreadful had happened. My mother put me again to bed, and lingering a little, said with tears streaming, 'God gave me one at midnight, and at midnight he took away the other one. Even in his old age, Tesla would lament, "My visual impression of it has lost none of its force." Indeed, a dark turn had been taken, and for the Tesla family, things would never be the same. Much to Nikola's chagrin, any accomplishments he made from that point forward became a painful reminder to his parents of Dane's lost potential, which was now evermore an idealized projection of what could have been. Young Nikola simply could not compete. Nothing he did ever was good enough. It was as if any success he had paled in comparison to what Dane was imagined as accomplishing someday. "Anything I did that was creditable merely caused my parents to feel their loss more keenly," which had a powerfully detrimental effect on Tesla's self-confidence and influenced his precocious dedication to achieving great things. In the case of his father, however, while Milutin continued to preach, his dedication to his writing and poetry waned terribly and eventually moved the family to the busy township of Gospic, an administrative center of the region. Although a humble-sized town even today, the way young Tesla describes it, it may have well been downtown Manhattan, and in short, he absolutely hated it. "In our new house, I was but a prisoner," he wrote, "watching the strange people I saw through the window blinds. My bashfulness was such that I would rather have faced a roaring lion than one of the city dudes who strolled about." For anyone who's going to spend the next 15 minutes zoning out thinking about what dude meant in these times, it basically was used by country or cowboy folk to describe well-dressed city dwellers of the male variety, or a fancy boy.
Yeah, it refers to the clothing they wore.
He's a real fancy boy.
The fancy city clothes, known as duds.
Oh, dude.
Fancy duds, dude.
I mean,
Oh, I live in a city, dude.
I get how he feels. That's kind of my default mode, too.
Shortly after the move to the bustling, dude-infested Gospic, two events stood out prominently in Tesla's mind, which, from a creative point of view, can be seen as analogous to which of either two career paths he was destined to choose between. The first was during one of Milutin's sermons in church. Tesla had just finished ringing the church bells up in the belfry and rushed downstairs, accidentally tripping over the verbosely long train of dress worn by the town's wealthiest lady. The back of the gown, quote, "tore off with a ripping noise which sounded like a salvo of musketry fired by raw recruits." Seeing the look of contempt on the fancy lady's face made Tesla's dad livid with rage and culminated with giving the boy a gentle slap on the cheek, the only corporal punishment he ever administered to me. See, on the one hand, this makes Milutin sound a bit like an endearing father. The man was a grizzled Serbian farmer priest in the middle of the 19th century with a military background, and nobody save for his own moral insight prevented him from ever smacking his annoying neurotic nerd of a son who may or may not have contributed to killing his firstborn, with only this one exception being a gentle slap. Sounds like a pretty okay dad to me, but, you know, who knows what passes for a gentle slap in 1860? May have been equivalent to a Mike Tyson level bitch slap today, it's hard to say for sure. The second memorable event from this time deals less with church and more with the practical world of life-improving devices. Yet, like the last event, also happened during a ceremony. In this case, however, it was an inaugural ceremony of the town's newly acquired fire truck and its flame-extinguishing pump at the school's campus. While a crowd of people assembled to hear speeches, the firemen present were becoming embarrassed by the pump's refusal to work and debated furiously with the school's teachers how to fix the problem. Their fire truck was impotent. As if drawn by the gravity of vivid intuition, Tesla waded into the river where the pump was supposed to be drawing water from and instinctively felt for the suction hose in the water and found that it had collapsed. After making an adjustment or two, the water in the pump burst forth. The crowd cheered, and the firemen carried Tesla aloft their shoulders, declaring him to be the hero of the day.
Does it say how old he was around this time?
He's younger than 10. He's not a teenager yet. With these two events in mind, it's not hard to imagine the inner turmoil of young Nikola, who inwardly dreamed of becoming an engineer, while his father ardently insisted that he follow his footsteps and join the clergy. It would also seem that his father wanted young Tesla to be possessed of the same razor-sharp intelligence, practical intuition, and steel-trap memory both his parents had by drilling him with, quote, all sorts of exercise, such as guessing one another's thoughts, discovering the defects of some form or expression, repeating long sentences, or performing mental calculations. Although he resented these exercises at first, Tesla would recount them in his old age with gratitude. These daily lessons were intended to strengthen memory and reason, and especially to develop the critical sense. His dad's like Yoda, teaching him to levitate rocks and read people's minds. And
You got to start punching harder things to get stronger in punching. You start doing that at a young age, you're going to create a beast.
And that's what he did. When Nikola turned 10, he entered Gospik's normal school, and Milutin's regimentation became more intense. Tesla excelled in topics like math and science, perhaps even a little too much, as his Jedi training made him highly proficient in solving complex equations in his mind, earning him wrongful accusations of cheating. He showed a particular fondness for the water turbine, and having seen an engraving of Niagara Falls in his classroom, once informed his uncle that someday he would travel to the United States and construct a big wheel run by the falls. It was here that Tesla began his long career of devising all kinds of contrivances and contraptions, finding particular satisfaction in his design of crossbows and slings, which his teachers judged to be the best in the class. Different times. His tinkering would continue well into his free time, however, and frequently got him into a spot of trouble. For instance, his grandfather was fairly unimpressed with his proclivity for disassembling his clocks, only to find them reassembled incorrectly, and although showing substantial shooting skill, he met with most painful discouragement for blasting out his windows with an improvised pop gun comprised of a hollow tube, a piston, and 2 plugs of hemp.
Pipe gun.
I made one of those in Fallout 4 once. His mother even authored several spankings, not of the formal kind, but the genuine article, for slashing up her corn stalks while pretending to be a Serbian war hero with an impressively crafted wooden sword he had fashioned himself. I think it's important to note that anything could be a sword to a little kid. I'm fairly certain Nikola used woodworking tools and made it into like a training sword that you see in martial arts displays, that kind of thing. It was like a legit Serbian sword, just wood.
Yeah.
I mean, he slashed up her corn stalks real good.
Exactly. It wasn't just a stick. He probably got spanked with the sword. As the kicker, he once designed a June bug engine, which entailed gluing 4 particularly strong beetle specimens, a local pest, to a cross piece of wood, which, according to him, proved remarkably efficient. For once they started, they had insufficient sense to stop. Sadly, a local bully cartoonishly ate the bugs and smashed the engine.
Oh my gosh. Serbian bullies be a whole nother thing, I guess.
This is why we can't have nice things.
It's like, haha, I ate your bugs. This is that.
As one might imagine of a fledgling wizard born during a lightning storm, electricity elicited Tesla's most intense interest, and he would later claim, appropriately so, that it was his beloved cat familiar, rather than his teachers, who introduced him to its spectacular mysteries. As the tale goes, it was during a particularly cold and dry spell that once, while Nikola was stroking Macaque's back, it suddenly became, quote, a sheet of light, and my hand produced a shower of sparks. This blew Tesla's mind. As he put it, the static electricity effect was a miracle, which made me speechless from amazement. Closely observing the effect, Macaque's body became surrounded by a halo, like an aura of the saints. When his mother saw the sparks, she bade him, "Stop playing with the cat! He might start a fire!" But a fire had already been started, and it would burn upon Tesla's mind the rest of his life. In the wake of this miraculous event, his young mind wondered, is nature a gigantic cat? And if so, who strokes its back?
So Tesla is now based, woke, and lit.
Great story.
That's like my new motto now.
I love it. Love how creative he is too, because it shows that geniuses have some way of uniting, nature, art, and, literature with science and math.
Can we make this a whole rabbit sticker?
Yes. Day after day, I asked myself, what is electricity? And found no answer. 80 years have gone by since, and I still ask the same question, unable to answer it.
What is electricity anyway? Is it miracles?
I think it's 2 tiny gnomes that are rubbing their belly hair against each other really hard.
From Merriam-Webster Dictionary, electricity is a fundamental form of energy observable in positive and negative forms that occurs naturally, as in lightning, or is produced artificially, as in a generator, and that is expressed in terms of the movement and interaction of electrons. Electricity can both be static and dynamic. Static electricity, like what he observed on his cat, is an accumulation of charged ions in material that can be discharged instantaneously as in the sparks. The discharge is simply the ions moving into an oppositely charged surface, and sometimes results in that visible spark as the charges neutralize each other. If the object's charge is not concentrated enough to be discharged, it tends to stick to other neutral or positively charged objects in a similar way to magnets, though not as strongly. Some common examples include statically charged laundry out of the dryer. It causes the fabrics to stick together annoyingly, or when you statically charge a balloon by rubbing it on your hair and it can stick to the wall. Using friction with insulating materials in dry conditions usually results in a static charge.
In the case of Tesla, his cat macaque.
Yeah, and it was dry that day, so makes sense that he had such a show of static electricity, because usually you can't really see the sparks unless there's a lot of charge. So the second form of electricity, dynamic electricity, is what most people are familiar with, which is a current of moving electricity. It could be natural, like lightning, or it can be produced artificially with a generator. When electrons flow from one point to another through a conductive material in a defined path, known as a current, a magnetic field is also produced. This is where electromagnetism comes from, as both forces tend to be intrinsically linked together. An electrical current can be stronger or weaker, and that potential energy is measured in volts, which tells us how many electrons are passing through the conductor at a given time. So if you use a metaphor involving water, the current would be its movement from a higher elevation to a lower elevation, like the path that it takes, and the voltage would be the varied volume of the flow, from a small brook to a huge river. An ampere, or an amp, is the measure of the speed of the electrons, which in our metaphor would measure the difference between a slow, lazy river and a rushing river with rapids. Tesla dealt with electrical currents in his research, having discovered that alternating current, which periodically alternates positive and negative currents of flow, was a superior way to transmit electricity over large distances when compared to direct current, which is a steady and unidirectional flow of energy.
As we will discuss later, this dichotomy between alternating current and direct current would partially come to define all of Tesla's life and his works. Tesla was, as any good wizard should be, laden with a number of profoundly strange eccentricities. As one of many examples, Tesla, for one reason or another, absolutely loathed hair, later writing, "I would not touch the hair of other people except perhaps at the point of a revolver. I would get a fever by looking at a peach."
What? But he's like snuggling that cat, but hair is gross? What?
Yep. I mean, human hair can be kind of gross. Have you ever touched it in the shower?
Yeah.
But a peach, that's nice hair. He would just like throw up in his mouth and cry.
Nectarines were invented for him.
Oh. He also hated earrings on women, especially pearl ones, which he admitted would, quote, give him a fit, while bracelets, on the other hand, pleased me more or less according to design.
What a weirdo.
That's pretty particular.
I don't like all the dangling. Stop! Help! Tesla also had a bizarre obsession with counting. Wherever he walked, he insisted his number of steps be divisible by 3, lest he feel compelled to repeat the steps until they were.
He also lived out his last days in a hotel room, and the number of the room had to be divisible by 3 or he wouldn't sleep in it.
If you listen to this story carefully, you will notice like the amount of time he spends in a place or whatever, it's usually divisible by 3, even if they don't point it out. Then at mealtime, even into his adult life, Tesla would demand 9 or 18 napkins, proceeding to wipe down each plate, bowl, glass, and piece of silverware before calculating the cubical contents of soup plates, coffee cups, pieces of food, or otherwise, my meal was unenjoyable.
Autism king.
We'll get there. I would kind of like to be able to measure the cubic amount of mass in, say, an enchilada, because then I could figure out who's giving me the most enchilada. And is it subjective? Do you want more enchilada or better enchilada? I think you want to lean more towards better enchilada, but you need to have some bulk. You gotta have some enchilada girth to really feel it, you know? Like,
I just want the whole enchilada, whatever enchilada it is.
The whole rabbit enchilada.
what is the cubical area of the whole rabbit? Who can say? It better be divisible by 3, though. Stranger still, these eccentricities were accompanied by what could only be described as superhuman ability, especially when it came to hearing and sight. He claimed the ability to discern objects in the distance when others saw no trace of them, and was proud to have saved numerous neighbors from deadly house fires by hearing the faint crackling of sounds which did not disturb their sleep. Even as an adult, he claimed to have heard very distinctly thunderclaps at a distance of 550 miles, which he boasted was 4 times further than any of his assistants. Now, when he wasn't dying for one reason or another, Tesla admitted he was was a bit of a superhero and spoke of himself as thus in his autobiography in his old age, like in his 60s. On this matter, he says, "A short time ago, I was returning to my hotel. It was a bitter, cold night, the ground slippery, and no taxi to be had. Half a block behind me followed another man, evidently as anxious as myself to get under cover. Suddenly, my legs went up in the air. In the same instant, there was a flash in my brain. The nerves responded, the muscles contracted. I swung through 180 degrees and landed on my hands. I resumed my walking as though nothing had happened when the stranger caught up with me. 'How old are you?' he asked, surveying me critically. 'Oh, about 59, I replied. 'What of it?' 'Well,' he said, 'I have seen a cat do this, but never a man. About a month since, I wanted to order new eyeglasses and went to an oculist who put me through the usual tests. He looked at me incredulously as I read off with ease the smallest print at considerable distance. But when I told him that I was past 60, he gasped in astonishment. Friends of mine often remark that my suit fits me like a glove, but they do not know that all of my clothing is made to measurements which were taken nearly 35 years ago and has never changed. During the same period, my weight has not varied 1 pound.'"
Yo, he's a demigod. He just stopped changing after a while.
Dude, that's the same as me, though. Like, I still have some clothes from when I was 17. They're almost 20 years old. I think it's just maybe some European genetics.
Well, you take care of your health in a similar way to how Tesla deals with his health. I think a lot of it had to do with diet and exercise and a lot of the things he did to preserve himself as the years went on. But we'll talk about that. Although fitting for a burgeoning wizard was his ability to see that which was not there at all. In the opening chapter of his life, this caveat would prove to be a debilitating scourge, which he described as, quote, "a particular affliction due to the appearance of images, often accompanied by strong flashes of light that marred the sight of real objects and interfered with my thought and action." Further still, he said, "I could not tell what I saw was real or not." According to Nikola, these tormenting images were so intensely vivid that he would find himself reaching out to touch them and persisted even as his hands passed through them entirely. In one particularly frightening case, all the air around me filled with tongues of living flame. This is fine.
Nice.
It sounds a little bit like he had built-in augmented reality.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how I feel when I'm walking around. I just see shit. I don't know if I'm the only one. Trees talk to me, man, but maybe that's just residual drugs.
I don't know. See, let's say, hypothetically speaking, I took a lot of drugs. I don't see things that easily. Even if I'm like mammered, you know, like just some people have a higher visual acuity for their inner sight. Except in his case, it was like out of control. In my opinion, what makes Tesla a true wizard more than anything is that while this affliction would have made most people absolutely bonkers, got them locked up in a loony bin or dosed with a litany of mind-numbing drugs, Tesla insisted on defeating these issues with focus and willpower alone. Believing that doctors and modern psychology would provide him no serious explanation or solution, Tesla attempted to defeat the ogres and tongues of flame by focusing his attention on images from the scientific books available to him in his father's library. The only problem with this plan was that Milutin would fly into a rage any time he would catch the young Tesla reading, presumably because he believed it would strain his eyesight. To remedy this, Nikola would wait until everyone was asleep, light candles he had stolen away with, and read vociferously in solitude after covering his keyhole and door cracks to remain undetected.
It's like a kid on their phone at night.
This is kind of funny too, because I don't know if your parents ever said it to you, but my parents always said, like, don't read by candlelight, it strains your eyes more. So it's kind of funny he's like told not to read, and then he does something that probably his father would think was even worse, which is reading by candlelight.
Yet his vision is perfectly immaculate until he's like
Yeah.
basically on his deathbed. He has 20/20 vision.
While other kids are out stealing daddy's titty magazines, he's out there like staring at the quadratic equation like, oh. As is the case with any good wizard, his studies actually aided him in harnessing and controlling his raw, untamed power. Tesla found particularly potent inspiration in the Serbian translation of Abafi by Miklos Josica, a well-known Hungarian author. Abafi, written in 1854, features a young nobleman by the name of Oliver Abafi, who, through sheer determination, makes the transformation from a disruptive, superfluous noble into a disciplined hero who sacrifices himself for crown and country. Tesla resolved that he would defeat both his shortcomings and mental afflictions using the same determination that Abafi did in Josika's novel. The result was remarkable, and when looking closely into Tesla's words, lays bare the essence of the occult formula EAO, and even the law of Thelema with brevity and clarity that could rival Aleister Crowley's best writing. He says, "At first my resolutions faded like snow in April, but in a little while I conquered my weakness and felt a pleasure I never knew before, that of doing as I willed. In the course of time, this vigorous mental exercise became a second nature. At the outset, my wishes had to be subdued, but gradually, desire and will grew to be identical."
Nice.
That's just proof that using visualization in your mind's eye can actually reattune your whole psyche.
Yes. What I find most interesting about it is that his description is from a quote secular source. It's not about occultism or spirituality or magic, but the way he describes the process is dead on the nose for how the mystery schools explain the process. It begins difficult, almost impossible, and then slowly but surely you start to make progress, and then once you get to a certain point, you're not even trying anymore, and it's then that the euphoria and the satisfaction starts blossoming from this newfound mastery of whatever the skill, whether it be meditation or visualization or doing a ritual. But like Tesla is proof that you don't need to put on a bunch of robes and wave a fancy wand around. This is something that's part of becoming a more powerful embodied human being. And he just reverse engineered that whole thing without even looking at the occult mechanisms, you could say. Later, through meditation, Tesla would eventually attain a level of awareness Buddhists might label the realization of anatman, or non-self, the operative idea being that most of human experience is akin to sleep, automatic, and unaware that what people normally identify as the self is just an unthinking wheel of karma, working itself out as a blind force of cause and effect. Amusingly, Tesla launches off this idea to predict advanced robotics and artificial intelligence as well.
He said, "Soon I became aware, to my surprise, that every thought I conceived was suggested by an external impression. Not only this, but all my actions were prompted in a similar way. In the course of time, it became perfectly evident to me that I was merely an automaton, endowed with power of movement, responding to the stimuli of the sense organs, and thinking and acting accordingly. The practical result of this was the art of telautomatics, which has been, so far, carried out only in an imperfect manner. Its latent possibilities will, however, be eventually shown.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
I have been since years planning self-controlled automata and believe that mechanisms can be produced which will act as if possessed of reason to a limited degree and will create a revolution in many commercial and industrial departments."
So he predicted AI, essentially.
What a freaking prodigy.
Yeah.
Then he's like, oh, then we'll put it in a mechanical bodysuit and have it serve us tea. Or in my case, water.
Are you sure this thing is safe?
Eventually, Tesla's mental exercises and discipline would become a doorway to entirely new worlds. I began to travel, of course, in my mind. By focusing, Tesla found that he could go on in my vision farther and farther, in a practice occultists would label astral travel. Every day when alone, I would start on my journeys, see new places, cities, and countries, live there, meet people, and make friendships and acquaintances. And however unbelievable, it is a fact, they were just as dear to me as those in actual life, and not a bit less intense in their manifestations. I wonder if they were all bald, like no pearl earrings. Not a goddamn pearl earring in sight. Zippity doodah. In fact, Tesla was so adept at this practice, it warrants mentioning that this same level of ability is a primary goal for students of the mystery traditions, in what they would describe as mastering control of the astral body, with its corresponding territory being the ideal setting for works of magic, the astral plane. At the time, Tesla just saw it as a way for a broke country boy to enjoy the luxuries of travel. On these astral journeys, he made imaginary friends who were very dear to me and really seemed alive. Getting to this point of mastery, Tesla explains it was gained gradually. At first, the new scenes were, quote, very blurry and indistinct, but through continued effort, they gained in strength and distinctness and finally assumed the concreteness of real things. Tesla credits these exercises with giving him the ability to, quote, visualize with the greatest of facility, a remarkably useful skill to have while inventing complex contraptions.
Tesla had even described that the deep breathing of these meditations that he did would cause him to feel a weightlessness of his body, and that this was so intense for him that he thought he should be able to fly through the air propelled by his will alone.
Once again, inventing an entire corpus of occult training just by experimenting. Like, this is all stuff you're supposed to be able to do as an accomplished wizard, and he's just like figured it out before he's 12.
I mean, some people can naturally do this. I mean, I don't really want to boast, but this is something that I've done since I was a kid as well. So I think some people are just naturally inclined to it, and other people maybe have other strengths. It's like, where is it on your character sheet? Like, his was slid way the fuck up as a starting mark, you know?
It's always been my weak point, and I've practiced and gotten better throughout the years, but what's really needed is the determination and the regularity that he committed himself to, because that's how he was with everything.
Yeah, it's like a muscle you work out. Because I am a very highly visual person, like a spatial visual person. I'm not proficient in math or anything, but part of problem solving on a deeper level and critical thinking, a lot of that has to do with the ability to basically reconstruct and have certain scenes play out in your head. And Tesla was renowned for being so good at thought experiments that he would think and think and think on something and observe and take in information and then put it together in his head, and instantly in real life he could just put a machine together and it would work.
Yeah.
So part of his brilliance comes from the fact that he practiced this so much. And at first maybe it was for escapism, like a bored kid, but he was very proficient and naturally skilled at it, I think.
I feel like I understand this pretty decently because it's like his perception was way the high and his charisma was really low. And I feel like my character sheet started off very similarly.
Yeah, I feel very similar as well.
Like, no friend, check. Antisocial, check. Incredibly visual, check.
Horrible at business dealings, check.
Yeah, check.
Also, what I love about it is that if you meet an accomplished occultist, they'll try and scare you off. Like, what, do you want to do magic, kid? You want to shoot fireballs out of your eyes? That's not what this is about. This is about growing as a person, and it's not fun. You understand, kid? I'm Double Crowley. If you look at what Tesla says, he's like, this is awesome! Why wouldn't anyone want to do this? Like, it's high resolution VR goggles, but without the damn clunkety schmunkety goggles. So listen to Tesla. It's fun. Go do the thing.
Blast off with autism.
Be a wizard.
Now, naturally, everybody suspected he had gone completely nuts. His aunts recalled that while in the company of relatives, Tesla would go out and seek solitude. He even had a morning routine where he, according to his family, would go into the woods to meditate. He measured one tree to another, making notes, experimenting. When local peasants discovered Tesla meditating, they would approach his aunts and uncles saying, "We're sorry, your cousin seems to be crazy."
That boy ain't right.
Nonetheless, Tesla thought highly of such modes of focused introspection. It taught me to appreciate the inestimable value of introspection and the preservation of life, observing with Buddha-like wisdom that others were, quote, absorbed in the contemplation of the outside world, that they are wholly oblivious to what is passing on within themselves. Ah, soul.
He also said, one must be sane to think clearly, but one can think deeply and be quite insane. Be alone, that is the secret of invention. Be alone, that is when ideas are born. My brain is only a receiver. In the universe, there is a core from which we obtain knowledge, strength, and inspiration.
Spitting straight facts.
But if you'd like to hear more about the wisdom of Nikola Tesla, his addictions, brushes with death, strange times in school, and how he eventually realized the way to master alternating current, then please visit www.patreon.com/thewholerabbit, where your monthly donation of just $5 will not only get you the immediate access to the second half of this episode, but immediate access to our entire library of extended episodes, which are conveniently accessible from right within the Spotify app. I'll even send you a 5x5 high-quality vinyl Big Bunny Baphomet sticker, and you'll get the secret keys to our Discord server where you can share your patents of crazy electronic inventions that are too dangerous to talk about with your family, or just post pictures of your cat. Thank you, everybody. Eat carrots and shoot lasers.
Pew, pew, pew.